Oh, there it is. Reacting to the bug I saw in the town, I started running involuntarily. It was because I saw the back of my ex-wife, Maria. I used to be a banker until 3 years ago. Now, I work as a section chief at a small and medium-sized company. While bankers used to be synonymous with high salaries, aside from the major mega banks, local banks are nothing more than just local businesses. Feeling uncertain about the future, I decided to change jobs and become an accounting section chief at a certain local small and medium-sized company right before turning 35. And this time, I went out while on a business trip to the downtown area, thinking of wandering around the lively streets, and there I saw a woman who resembled Maria. However, amidst the crowd, I lost sight of the figure that seemed to be Maria, and eventually returned to the hotel. Lying down on the bed, I recalled the past. Maria left me suddenly 5 years ago. Without any warning, all that was left in the house were a note and a prep-filled divorce form. "I'm sorry, please get a divorce," was all that was written in the note. I didn't know the reason or anything. However, that question was quickly answered. Maria's father owned a company and had received a considerable loan from the bank I worked at. But at the same time as Maria's disappearance, her family fled overnight. Of course, I had no involvement with her father's company. Banks extremely dislike situations where personal feelings interfere with fair treatment. However, at that time, I was thoroughly questioned if I knew anything. Naturally, I had no choice but to answer that I didn't know anything. Because I truly didn't know anything, there was nothing I could do. And, unsurprisingly, I wasn't easily believed. I still remember the investigators' looks at me. It was an unpleasant gaze, much like they were looking at a criminal. In the end, the loan to her family was recorded as a bad debt, and the bank went back to its everyday routine as if nothing had happened. Of course, there were changes internally. The bank employee who handled the loan to her family was reprimanded for negligence in loan management and was demoted, and I was completely taken off the promotion track and transferred to a small branch, just as I had resigned myself to being stuck there until retirement. The current company president asked me, "If you're interested, would you like to come?" That's how it happened. Meeting now, what did I intend to do? I can't even understand why I wanted to chase after someone who looked like Maria. Or maybe, did I want to say something like, "Because of you, my life was ruined"? Or perhaps, even after 5 years, am I still carrying some lingering feelings? I kept asking myself, but at that moment, I couldn't find an answer. However, one thing was certain. I just wanted to meet her again. The next day, after finishing my work, I contacted the company and got permission to return directly, deciding to stay another night in this town. I planned to walk around the area, starting from where I lost sight of her yesterday. Although it was a rural area, the town was very lively. Especially on this day, being the weekend, there were even more people than yesterday. I walked around for about 3 hours, but I couldn't find anyone who looked like her. It was only natural, considering I was searching based on the unreliable information of having seen her the previous day. It might have been someone else, or maybe she just happened to be in town by chance. Just as I visited here on a business trip, Maria may have just had something to do here yesterday. Even if we were lucky enough to meet, there is nothing I can do from there. I have already retired from the bank and started a new life, and I am sure that she has found a new lover. Just as I was about to give up and go home, I saw the same bag again. I hurried after her and followed her carefully so as not to lose her this time. One of the reasons I didn't approach her suddenly was because I was worried about what to do if it turned out to be someone else. But the most important reason was because I hadn't yet sorted out what I was going to say. In other words, I still did not know what I wanted to do. I left the center of the downtown area, and the streets gradually became less and less crowded. I caught a glimpse of her profile on the way. It was already getting close to dusk. Eventually, Maria entered the office of a travel agency. From the way she was dressed, she probably worked at this travel agency. I hesitated for a while outside the shop, but then I mustered the courage and went in. The store was still open, and a woman's voice said, "Welcome." Soon I took a seat in front of one of the counters. "Welcome." Before finishing her greeting, the woman at the counter caught her breath in surprise. Maria, who was sitting at the counter, seemed to have noticed that I was a customer. May I see a few brochures?" "Oh, okay. Where are you planning to travel to?" In order not to arouse the suspicions of the other employees, I talked with her, pretending to be a customer. But her face is already pale, and her speech is slurred. I thought to myself as if I had seen a ghost, but I wanted to talk to her properly anyway. So I ran a pen over my notes while pretending to receive an explanation. "After work at XX Hotel," I wrote, mentioning the name of the hotel I was staying at, and included my cell phone number as well. I may have had some lingering feelings for Maria, but at the time, I think I was just curious to know what had happened. After I had finished my business conversation, I went back to the hotel and waited for an incoming call. I thought I might be ignored, but around 8 o'clock in the evening, I received a call from Maria. I'm in the lobby. I think her voice was trembling with tension as she said this. I met up with her and we went into a pub in front of the station. I thought that she wouldn't want other people to hear us if possible, so I requested a private room. After the drinks and food were served, Maria suddenly spoke up. "I'm sorry. It must have taken a lot of courage." Maria had tears in her eyes. "I don't need an apology. Instead, tell me what happened." My calm words made her silent again. But I waited patiently. I had waited for 5 years. It wouldn't matter if I had to wait for an hour or two now. Soon after, she began to talk. At the time, her father's company was suffering from the recession, and its performance was declining. I knew this at least a little. Even though I was not the person in charge of the company, it was within the same bank. I overheard someone talking about it. At the time, you were very busy with work and very frustrated, so I couldn't tell you. As I listened to her story, memories of 5 years ago come back to me. At that time, there was a global recession, and it wasn't just her father's company that was struggling with its performance. The clients I was in charge of were also on the brink of going into the red, and as a loan officer, I listened to their stories with my stomach churning. Looking back, I can say that I was definitely losing my composure. Then I got a call that one of my father's major clients had gone bankrupt. My father thought it was over and chose to run away, knowing that he was being unfair to the bank. I understand that situation too. I think he should have said sorry to his creditors instead of running away, but he is only human, so there are some things that can't be helped. But that doesn't mean you should have run away without telling me anything, does it? I didn't want to bother you about my parents. No, the truth is, I was afraid that you would blame me. I was really scared of you at that time. Tears once again streamed down Maria's cheeks. I wonder if I looked that scary. I think it was true that I couldn't afford it. However, I never once raised my hand to Maria. Even if she says she was scared, I can't agree with her. Don't you see? At that time, you were always thinking about work, even when you were at home. I could see it in your face, no matter how much I tried to get you to forget about work. You always seemed to be above it and not listening. Come to think of it, I don't remember having a proper conversation with Maria just before she left home. My mind was always on my business performance or my clients, and there may not have been a moment when I could truly relax. I tried to talk to you several times, but you always just pretended to listen to what I said in a tedious way. I felt like I was someone you didn't need, so you betrayed me and left. Again, Maria stopped speaking. After a short pause, she murmured, I felt sorry for you. I am truly sorry, but I didn't think you needed me. I couldn't find the words to say to her. As she settled her bill and left the store, she was right. I was the one who ignored her first. The next morning, I checked out of the hotel and returned to my hometown. On my way home, I casually visited her parents' house. The place where the factory used to be had been completely cleared, and now there was only a signboard for a newly built condominium standing there. The town, the people, everything is changing. The only trace left of Maria in this town is in my heart. For some reason, when I realized that, tears came to my eyes. Then I realized why I had chased after her back. I was still holding on to my regrets. To be more precise, I wanted to hear her voice. I didn't want her to apologize. I didn't care about the situation. I just wanted to hear her voice like before. There was a time when I was angry at her for suddenly disappearing. But now that I've quit the bank, I don't feel that way anymore. I don't care if it's just a trivial conversation. I want to talk to her again. That was all I wanted. A week later, I went back to the town where Maria lived. This time, I was determined not to blame or accuse her of anything. But there was one thing I wanted to tell her. I still need you. I just wanted to tell her that. She apologized with tears in her eyes, but she still did not say that she never wanted to see me again. When I met her that time, a ring was shining on her left hand. I think it was the wedding ring I had given her. Come to think of it, she had left the divorce paper, but the ring was nowhere to be found. Would she mind if I said I wanted to be with her again? It should be fine, because when I reached out saying I wanted to see her again, she replied with a yes.